This is a review video for Mass Culture Theory 1.0, going over some of the key concepts and ideas to keep in mind as you move through the course. So first of all, we saw in Mass Culture Theory 1.0 that the premise was that there is a high culture and a low culture. High culture is that which is defined by the elite in society. Those are the people that are learned, or the power brokers, as it were, having access to authority and influence. Everyone else was part of the mass culture, and mass culture, when they created art, it was such as music or cottage industries, it was seen as something less than. So culture was defined in the terms of kind of products, but also the values that lay behind them. The idea of high culture being more valuable, and what one should aspire to, and low culture being accessible to everyone but less desirable because it's less refined and less part of this structured social system. So Mass Culture Theory 1.0, a few key terms. Remember, minority culture. Minority culture refers to that elite or high culture, and it's separate from the masses, and they are the producers of culture. Mass culture, on the other hand, was the bulk of society, who were governed by mass production and standardization. Their culture was seen as kind of debased or less than because it was produced by more people, and it was more seen as more common, less refined. So what was to be aspired to was true culture, which was art, which is express aura and technique and expertise. Art represent the social structures of society, i.e., you had to have special training, you had to have extensive resources and finances to create the art, and you had to have a certain understanding of the world in order to represent it through art. The argument was that media, mass media, and media produced by the mass culture was not art. It was seen as reproduction because it was often either the spin-offs of this high art accessible to the masses, or it was again created from in the home context and by this culture that was seen as less refined. Finally, Mass Culture Theory 1.0 is based on these four premises that we've reiterated. Mass culture is aimed at the low culture and produced by the working class. It is seen as promoting the values of production and standardization because it's basically the common understanding that helps people interpret it and produce this culture. True or high culture was created for and by the elite, and they were seen as the people that should not just create it, but govern over it, define it, and kind of tell people in the masses what it really meant and its significance. And finally, media and mass media was part of mass culture and therefore seen as not art and not as valuable in society. We also see that the audience or the mass culture is seen as a passive audience that needs to be schooled and be cultured by the elite in society.